I've got a really tough decision that I'm just going to have to pray to the Lord for guidance on. What should I do, Jesus? My son, Ole Miss and leave them for LSU. Blackmail your coaches by saying if they don't come with you right now, they won't have a job. Piss everyone off like you did at Tennessee and USC. It's the Lane Kiffin Red Zone Chicken Special! Hey, Livy Dunn. I'm new in town and was wondering if you could show me around LSU, just as friends winky face. Maybe something more later. Aha, JK, JK, ... Unless, ... Aha, JK, JK, ... Unless. Oh yeah, this one will work for sure. This is the worst day in Mississippi since the Emancipation Proclamation. You guys wanted Lane? I thought you said Tulane. Hi, yeah, this is Lane Kiffin, the new LSU football coach. Is there a way I could sign up for a yoga class this spring semester? Maybe like a freshman girls introductory class. And can you put a weight limit on the class? I don't want to look at any fatties. God damn it! What did I say?
Welcome in and welcome back to Hyper Studios and to the Coliseum. My name is Logan Hyder, and it's been a couple weeks since I've seen you guys. I've missed you dearly. We have a ton of stuff to go over, so I will not take any more of your time than is necessary here in the beginning. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Statistically, you probably are not subscribed, even if you do watch a lot of my videos, and we appreciate you being here. Like I said, you could be anywhere else in the world, watching anything else in the world, and the channel has been going incredibly well, including the last couple college football videos, both hitting right at 1,000 views a piece, the first two videos that I've ever had do that well. So yeah, we'll see if Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel can bring that in for a third time in a row. And with that being said, I want to jump straight into what we got going on for you guys today, which is, as you can see with the intro, is going to be heavy on the Lane Kiffin story to LSU, but also we're going to talk about Tennessee again. Look at this right here. Tennessee reaches out arms to Ole Miss. Come here, little buddy. They're there. We will get through this together. Kind of like the theme of today's video, I suppose. In case you do not know, there was a little bit of a change in the last week when it comes to jobs in the SEC. Lots of guys hired, lots of guys fired. The funniest part is Lane Kiffin said he was going to pray to the Lord for guidance, which we talked about. Saw this in the intro. Jesus was like, "Oh, my son, fuck Ole Miss over. Also try to blackmail them into letting you coach the playoffs by threatening to take all your staff and players with you." So, in case you're unaware, I made the difficult decision to leave my wife, who's been very loyal to me, for a woman she despises. I was hoping to keep living in our house through Christmas and acting like nothing was wrong. My request was denied by my wife, despite the kids wanting me to stay through Christmas. That's hilarious. That is so funny. The last time Lane Kiffin went to Tennessee, fans were throwing golf balls and mustard bottles at him. Next year, he takes over at LSU. He'll play at Tennessee and at Ole Miss. And teams gonna have to be real mentally sharp because that's gonna be crazy. Kiffin exits ranked number one tarmac. Oh, Kiffin exits ranked. Okay, so yeah, we are going to go through everything that essentially Lane Kiffin has been through or caused on his way out of different organizations, different programs in college football and in the NFL. Oh, Lord have mercy, Lane. But there's a large list of them. A large list of them, as you can see here. Look at this, though. Lane didn't waste any time finding a place to do hot yoga in Baton Rouge. Brother, what is going on? I'm going to tell my kids when they were grown, this is what evil looks like. Damn. They put this man's clothes in the street like a cheating whore. I love college football. All of this for Lane Kiffin to get fired from LSU in under 5 years without a national championship. It's definitely possible. It is definitely possible. Louisiana's governor went on a rant saying Brian Kelly's contract was financially irresponsible and that the next coach would be given a performance-based contract, only for LSU to give Lane Kiffin a 7-year, $91 million deal with an 80% buyout and no offset clause. Guy. Let's fucking sit still there, right? Lane Kiffin said the Ole Miss fans are trying to run him off the road on the drive Sunday to the Oxford airport. He says he understands the reaction from Rebels fans. It's the passion of the SEC. Can't turn a hoe to a housewife. Fuck Kiffin. Narcissistic coward. Good Lord. Ole Miss will now become America's team in the playoffs. True. Arkansas fans have protested the Ryan Silverfield hire. Who the fuck is... What? Who cares? This one specifically, can't turn a hoe into a housewife. This is actually I'm assuming that they're talking about this interaction that he got into with this reporter. Just to be clear what we're talking about here, just lay the groundwork just for 1 second. Lane Kiffin was being reported to possibly go to Florida, possibly go to LSU, possibly stay in Ole Miss. Even the Titans were reported as being a possibility at a couple different points. He ends up going to Ole Miss, which caused, you would think that that's the story and that we would be talking about, what is he going to do there football-wise, but it's absolutely not. As is always the case with Lane Kiffin, there is quite the surrounding hullabaloo. If I could just pull into the vocabulary bag real quick, and they can't turn a hoe into a housewife. This is Golding, who's going to be their coach moving forward, but they can't turn the hoe into a housewife thing. Last week was rivalry week. Tennessee played Vanderbilt, which we're going to talk about just in a minute. Trust me, that's what the other big topic is for today. But Ole Miss played Mississippi State, who they beat in what will ultimately be Lane Kiffin's last game. And afterwards, this is the interaction that Lane had with a reporter who called him a hoe. I will say that it's kind of interesting to do that while you're flanked by two fucking state troopers. That does hurt your case for being tough a little bit. But it is kind of interesting to see somebody get called out for something like that. I mean, I definitely say things like that, but I'm also not standing in the back of the end zone before the game, right? So after the game, he was asked about the decision-making process, which is where the prayer thing comes up from the intro and from the other posts, and this is what Lane had to say.
And have you made up your mind?
No, I haven't. I got a lot of praying to do to figure that out tomorrow, but right now I'm just going to go enjoy these players. I told him last night, you're going to win your 11th game, and all I want to do is experience joy watching you, and that's what I'm about to do.
Are you experiencing that joy right now?
I am.
I saw a body language expert say that that he basically tells you, like, watching it the second time, I will say that it is a lot more obvious. So we know what he says here. No, I haven't. I've got a lot of praying to do to figure that out, etc. So I'm gonna mute it. Watch like the way that he moves his body and his hands and stuff like that, because he basically like waves by, then does like a signature motion, right? Let's see. So he goes to answer the question, and he goes, look, waves by. Then he goes, I'm going. Then he signs something. Gone. I'm gone. I don't know if there's anything to that or not. But after watching that the second time, and seeing it after I had seen that body language expert post, that is a little bit insane. The other thing about the decision-making process that I did want to show in all seriousness is that he was relying on Nick Saban and Pete Carroll for his decision because his dad, Monty Kiffin, passed away about a year ago. Monty Kiffin being a legendary defensive coach who invented the Tampa 2 defense, literally. That is Lane Kiffin's dad. Let's show you this real quick before that clip. We got a lot of media to show you today, which is great. So this is a clip of Monty Kiffin that says you can see Lane Kiffin got it all from his dad. So let's see this.
To dig down to the core of Lane Kiffin,
I've got a little new hearts.
what you must know above all else
I got a little,
is that he is the son of a football coach.
and there's just a lot of Monty Kiffin, and that's me.
That first season at State, Kiffin was known more for the outrageous things he did off the field than for what his team did on the field. He rode a ride horses, the band played the rhythm.
Was that boy boxing? What is going on?
He town over tour. He jumped out of a helicopter at a pep rally. Monty Kiffin was a gridiron lifer. After 3 seasons as head coach at NC State in the early 80s, he ricocheted around the NFL. Defensive coach for half a dozen teams throughout the league.
I was really fortunate to have a dad that took so much time with me. You're on NFL players and NFL coaches, and just to be in awe of, like, being in the locker room, and there, I'm a ball boy and I'm little, and there's Herschel Walker, like, it was just It really was amazing.
So again, a big influence obviously on him was his dad, and his dad was a big influence on football in general. And you kind of, can't tell a story of football without Monty Kiffin. Literally, he's that big of a deal. Monty Kiffin passed away about a year ago.
Yeah, I do. I miss my dad. I really missed him this week. And so, my two calls would be the closest to that from advice, what my dad would say to do on these things. That would be Coach Carroll, Coach Saban. So, kind of wish when you had things to do in life that your dad wasn't there, or your dad was there. But it is what it is.
So you can tell, obviously, that's a pretty difficult thing that Lane's going through there. He mentioned calling Nick Saban and calling Pete Carroll, and that's something that I've touched on a little bit here already. But Lane Kiffin has had an incredible just yo-yo of just job opportunity. He's kind of one of these guys that I talked to or talked about before whenever I said that they kind of just keep falling forward. But again, and this is as a Tennessee fan, I really do respect the journey that you're about to see right here, especially what he did after leaving Tennessee. I was a young kid growing up, was really, really excited about Lane Kiffin being the Tennessee head coach, and then he leaves for the only job that he essentially said that he ever would leave for, which was USC. And people gave him a lot of shit for the way that he did it, but at least the guy did say, like, if I was gonna leave, it would be for that. That's where it got a little messy. 2009, 2010. We'll come back to this post, but 2009, 2010, whenever he was leaving Tennessee, this picture right here, Tennessee fans, please accept my sincerest apologies, and I understand everything. There's a documentary that came out about Lane Kiffin that I've been wanting to watch. I was there to experience part of it. Lane Kiffin's exit from Tennessee, just to see where he kind of started getting the reputation of burning bridges, right?
If Killer find out that he's going to come address the media, I'm thinking this is going to be a disaster.
Thanks for coming, guys. This was not an easy decision. It's just something that happened very quick. It was a decision that myself and my family made.
Nobody does that. Nobody has a press conference. Nobody does that. You wait till the next place, because you're going to steal in their thunder, and you have the press conference there, and then you can take the last place. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Then it backfired.
He walks out, and I tried to follow him down the hallway, but he was done talking, so I walk out front of the football facility, and all hell's broken loose. Yeah, mattresses on fire.
Let's go. That's us, baby. That is us. We will not do shit to you on the field, but hey.
People running around cursing and hollering. Get over there and find out that he's going to come address the media.
Every Tennessee fan I knew, which were few, Lane Kiffin became literally the most unpopular person on the face of the earth.
Statement was made, when you hire a snake, don't be surprised if you get bitten.
Golly. No, it was really insane. They had to help him with security get out through the back of the building. Him and Monty Kiffin. Monty Kiffin was his defensive coordinator at Tennessee, they had to sneak out the back of the building.
And a lot of things about Lane's career have been surreal. He sort of lifts in and he lifts out. It just was the most tumultuous year in Tennessee football history.
I think there's things in life that you do that you make mistakes. I call them self-inflicted wounds. Then there's things you actually are really trying to go above and beyond to do the right thing, and it just doesn't work. I felt like I loved the time at Tennessee. I loved the people there. But I just can't watch USC for years on TV saying, man, I had that job, and I said no. And whether I was right or wrong, that's just how I felt.
Every Tennessee...
Yeah, again, he kind of was clear about that whenever he started at Tennessee. That would be the only job that he would ever leave for. But the tarmac. Okay, cool. Let's also. So then, when he goes to USC, let's go back to the other post real quick. Let's see what we got. Where did okay. So USC offensive coordinator. He gets hired as the head coach of the Raiders, which did not end well as well. I don't think that we're going to end up getting into that too much today, but that one also was not a great ending. Let's go ahead and mute this down. He goes to Tennessee. Okay, cool. Down. He goes to USC. Well, he was allegedly, which I'll let him explain for himself. He was allegedly fired and just basically left on the tarmac, like the plane just left it. And that's been a story that's been around for a long time about that firing. So let's see what he's got to say about that real quick.
You were left on a tarmac too? Where was that? USC? Is that real?
Oh, USC. I wasn't left on the tarmac. And it sounds better when you say tarmac. We landed, and then the AD in the airport right there in a side room met with me. And I was actually on the bus going back to the facility at USC. Because they sleep at the office back then and get ready for the next game. And he called me. It was like 3 o'clock, like in the private airport there. And that's where he told me.
So he showed up a little bit late. Oh, where's he at? He's already on the bus.
To get me off the bus.
So yeah, not a great result from that. And so obviously you leave Tennessee in the fever and in the firestorm that you do, and then you go to USC because again that's where he started. I mean, like we pulled this up a couple times already, but to go back to this. Okay, down. Yeah, first place though was offensive coordinator at USC. So to go back to, and then let's just go ahead and go through the whole thing now. So Tennessee head coach, we've just talked about that, leaves there in an absolute disaster, burns every bridge you could imagine behind him there, goes to USC, is not successful there over a few years, is left quote unquote on the tarmac, and this is where things change for Lane Kiffin. Nick Saban brings him in to be his offensive coordinator and absolutely rehabilitates him. This is one of the best things about Nick Saban, which I'm going to totally use this as an excuse to play this other video that I have that's Nick Saban core here in a second. But Nick Saban basically saved his career. He did this for a lot of different guys, but Nick Saban brought Lane Kiffin in a time where Nick Saban kind of had to decide whether he was going to innovate his offense and change with the times or not. It was a run-heavy offense, I formation, Alabama run the ball, lots of Heisman Trophy winning running backs at Alabama over a long period of time. And basically, Saban and Alabama had two, separate dynasties, two separate times where they were the best team, the best program in college football. One of them was when it was ran through the run game, and then there was the period where Lane Kiffin was brought in and their passing game and their passing offense, as far as Saban's program on the whole, was redeveloped, reimagined. Lane Kiffin was the guy who did that, and he totally rehabilitated Lane Kiffin's reputation, both in football and in general, because of the way that he not only came in and helped them on the field, but also because of the way that he kind of humbled himself to be able to submit to a guy like Saban, right? So let's, while we're talking about that, it's been good to kind of use that post to work through here. But while we're talking about that, let's go ahead and play this Nick Saban quote. There's going to be a clip in here where he's talking about Lane Kiffin, and this is why I'm bringing this up with a loose tie, because this is so awesome. It's funny, him and like Brady, after they're gone, have become two of my favorites in football, and I absolutely hated them whenever they were at Alabama and New England. But this is just awesome.
Before you ask, you always see the other guy. I'd really rather not have any more questions about, is it okay to lose this game? It's never okay to lose a game.
Like there were some arguments between yourself and...
This is the one. This is the one right here. It looks like there were some arguments between yourself and Lane on the sideline. What was that about?
Lane on the sideline, or at least
There's no arguments. Those are called ass chewings.
New shoes are hurting my feet. When they start hurting my feet, then I'm going to get cranky, so then I'm going to have to get on somebody's ass.
Poison that you...
It's just a natural progression. Shoes, cranky. Gotta get somebody's... Just... Is that not how...
They give us is usually fatal.
You're talking about rat poison. If you never heard the term rat poison was what Nick Saban used to call the media and what they would say, basically. You're not supposed to listen to it, good, bad, or indifferent. Usually it's fatal because, you basically hype yourself up. You believe your own hype. But
the rat poison that you put out there this week was yummy.
You want to guard me, Three? I got something for your ass now.
Anyway, down. He's the Raiders head coach. Down. Now he's going to Tennessee. We already talked about that. Now he's going to USC. So head coach at USC gets left on the tarmac again. We were there before. He then goes to Alabama to rehabilitate his. Is that a tarmac? Yeah, they put a tarmac there. That's fucked. My boy said I wasn't left on a tarmac, all right? I was pulled off a bus. Much different. Goes to Alabama, rehabilitates his image, rehabilitates Saban's offense, becomes the head coach at FAU, leaves FAU to go to Ole Miss, and has been there for the last 5 years. We now know, obviously, that that's not a question mark. He did go to LSU. Kiffin was 55-19 or something like that during his time at Ole Miss. By far the most successful head coach at that university ever. I mean, a lot of people said they couldn't even get to the point that they got to now, which would be my only thing. As far as taking the job itself, the one thing that I will go ahead and throw out there, from my point of view, I don't totally, I mean, I kind of get it. I mean, it's LSU. And that's basically why he took the job. He said in a second, you know, and I'll get this clip up, he said that he didn't want to know what his numbers were, what his contract was. I'm sure he was being facetious about that.
I said through the process, okay, I'm never going to make a decision on money. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know what my contract is here. That's not very financially.
Oh my God, this person said, I love Daniel Tosh. Brother.
Responsible.
Okay? I'm sure it's really good. Okay? I don't know what it is, nor did I know at the other places what the numbers were. Because I said in the beginning, I told Jimmy Sexton, don't tell me the numbers, okay? I want to make a decision that has nothing to do with money for me. Now, tell me the numbers and the plan for what the money is for the players. Because that's everything in that area to me. I said through the process.
So basically, don't tell me about a contract. Just tell me how much the players are going to get paid because of this. Yeah, okay, buddy. Everybody believes you, I'm sure. But the point being is that he ultimately decides to take the LSU job. I don't really think that there's a very, very strong case to be made that it's the better job, generally speaking, and that you can accomplish more there. But you're also at an SEC school. You're at a school that's already in the playoffs. You got them there. You've built something there. You would think that that would continue or get more, or get better, excuse me. And so whenever you go to leave for LSU, I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of feel like, what was the point in building all that if you're going to have to go just compete against it now, especially if you, quote unquote, don't care about the money. So it's a slightly, I don't know. To me, it's not as much of a, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not as much of a lateral move as people act like it is, because LSU and Ole Miss, brand-wise, history-wise, is not even remotely close, which I do understand, but also you're the guy who made Ole Miss the team that's in the playoff this year, while LSU is 7-5 with Brian Kelly, you know, who people would have said a couple years ago was by far the better coach. So I kind of could see the case either way, but ultimately that's what he decided to do, was go to LSU. I think that he'll have a lot of success there because he has a lot of resources there, and because I do think he's a good coach. And my personal opinion, by the way, is that even as a Tennessee fan, I do think that he's had his, he's spent his time rehabilitating himself properly, I guess is the way to put it. He's served his time when it comes to the college football general public, in my opinion. But a lot of people do not agree with that. There are some people that do, but a lot of people do not agree with that. And let's look at the reaction to him going to LSU. Well, first of all, let's look at the reaction from other students, female ones, who I guess they were not happy with what he did. Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, is now getting all the Ole Miss students dyslexic. Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, and now all the Ole Miss students are exposing him for getting with students. Yeah, I mean, first of all, she's got the disappearing message pulled up, and he doesn't. You know, you played yourself on that one, clearly. When it comes to this woman being several steps ahead of you there, Lane. But to be honest with you, I'm just going to scroll through these. I don't care particularly. I don't know, maybe I should, but I don't really care. And also, like, I'm not surprised that this is going to come out. But as long as the guy was single, etc. But I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Oh, that this became part of this. God forbid a man has motion. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Lane's cracked more rebels than the Union Army. Brother. Does a 50-year-old really type like a high schooler? Yeah, I mean, listen. All I'm saying is he's single, he's rich, he's famous, he's at a D1 school. Are we really surprised that he's doing this? Are we really surprised that he's doing this? I mean, it's weird, but the one thing that I will say is that anybody that's like forcibly making fun of him as if this is like the cringiest shit ever, you know, it's kind of, again, it is when you read it, right? If you want to pause the video and read it, go ahead and read it. Should I do it? For real, I was nervous about the trip thing, not knowing for sure if we would get along great, especially since the one dinner and bar night is with all the SEC head coaches. No, I can't do it. I cannot do it. Wild. You can't tell Tyler. He'd hate me. Hell no, I don't talk. So is that a yes? Come over tonight. Yes, but it has to be top secret. This is brutal. Low-key smooth. So anyways, point being is that I'm not overly surprised that came out. I mean, it's 2025. The guy's got to assume that everything he's doing at this point, it has that going on with him. I mean, maybe he'll learn his lesson going to LSU. But that was the subject of, by the way, in the intro, the whole showing me around LSU with the Livy Dunn thing. Yeah, it would be because of this. It would be because of the multitude of screenshots that are continuing to come out. So, by the way, in case you are curious, before we look at the reaction to LSU actually leaving, LSU signed Lane Kiffin to a 7-year, $91 million contract that includes a clause to make him the highest paid head coach if he leads the Tigers to a national championship, and the school will also pay him his Ole Miss college football playoff bonuses worth up to $1 million. So one thing that I should bring up at this point is that the whole blackmailing him or blackmailing the organization or blackmailing Ole Miss thing, right? Essentially what happened was that Lane wanted to coach in the college football playoff. Now, Scott Van Pelt will explain to you in just a second why he thinks that that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't personally think that it's that insane. I do get why it looks insane from the outside looking in, but at the same time, it's not Lane's fault that the college football schedule is what it is, which I also have a clip from Nick Saban, explaining that if you don't want to take my word for it. But the college football schedule is ridiculous. The way that they have laid out the transfer portal, the way they've laid out the signing days in particular, requires guys to get signed to new schools, requires schools to hire their head coaches in such a manner that they have to basically poach coaches from teams that are currently actively competing or in the playoffs or in SEC championship hopes or, conference championship hopes, because naturally those are the kind of guys that you're going to want. Well, you can't wait anymore until after the season to do so. You just can't. So this is not a Lane Kiffin thing at all. He's basically sabotaging his own recruiting class by not going right now, unless they would let him continue to coach Ole Miss, and LSU would, the recruits would basically know, hey, that's where he's going. Again, at that point, I almost don't even know why it matters. Because it's only playoff games that they have remaining. They almost went to the SEC championship, had Auburn beat Alabama, and so they were watching that as well. It would have been interesting to see if they would have let him do so, or what his decision would have been if they got to the SEC championship. But point being is that as of Saturday night, Kiffin was essentially demanding to finish the season with Ole Miss while simultaneously threatening to poach Ole Miss's roster and staff if he couldn't. It's unfortunately gotten even messier than expected as emotions are high. In response to Ole Miss shutting him down, Kiffin has told his staff that if they don't get on the plane to Baton Rouge today, they will not have a job at LSU. Defensive coordinator Pete Golding is expected to be named as the Rebels' interim head coach for the playoffs. So my issue with it is kind of the way that it's presented, because he's ultimately in a tough spot. He ultimately has to go right now and wants to fill out his staff with guys that he knows and trusts from his staff at Ole Miss, which naturally he would. He's basically going to say to them, look, this is the situation. This is what I got to do. This is what you got to do. If you want to come, you got to come now. So it's one of those things that I really feel like he's kind of getting a bad rap on, especially when you combine it with the text messages to the co-eds, and it's kind of a bad look for him. And I get that, especially if you want to hate Lane Kiffin. But generally speaking, I think that it's a problem with the college football schedule far, 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 far more than it is a Lane Kiffin problem. So before we move on to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, which you're going to want to stick around for, trust me, I'm going to go ahead and play some of these videos that I have from the various college football media figures who have commented on the Lane Kiffin situation.
Everybody should be thinking about the players. Everybody should be thinking about the student athletes. What's best for the student athletes? Players should be able to play for his coach for the entire season. Players shouldn't be penalized if a coach leaves, because the committee has the opportunity, if a player or coach doesn't participate, they can sink you in the rankings. So Ole Miss could go down in the rankings, maybe miss a home game. So their players are getting penalized. but we need to take a better approach to the business aspect of what we do in college athletics. In the NFL, you cannot leave your team until you're finished playing. You can't talk to another coach in the regular season. There's a defined time when you can talk to them if they're in the playoffs. That's the way it should be. And we should match the academic calendar with the football calendar, and we shouldn't have an early signing date that conflicts with people wanting to hire an early coach, a portal situation where you got to hire an early coach, fire your coach early. None of this is fair to the player. Everybody should be. So if we did all that in May and then had some kind of OTA days or something in the summertime instead of spring practice, we wouldn't have all these issues and players could actually finish the year. So this is not a Lane Kiffin conundrum. This is a college football conundrum that we need some leadership to step up and change the rules on how this gets done in terms of coaching searches and opportunities for people to leave. Players can leave. So if you went to the Ole Miss players, they would say, I want my coach to coach till the season's over. Yeah. We got a chance to go to the playoffs. When's the next time we're going to have a chance to go to the playoffs? So that's the way it should be, regardless of what Lane decides to do.
He's got 5 of the messiest exits in the history of football. The Raiders, Tennessee, the tarmac, aka USC, Saban telling him to leave before the national.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
We trying to film a video over here, you psycho dog.
The Joys.
On championship game at Alabama when he was just an offensive coordinator, and now Ole Miss. The credibility issue thing is real. Why would you commit to him if he's not going to be committed to you? And is that a fair line? Probably with this move. And yet, listen, if he wants to do this, more power to him. If this is the decision he wants to make for he and his family, more power to him. Doesn't mean there's not consequences, and it doesn't make it any less selfish. Because it is. He's the play caller, and he's leaving those players in the wind. And the hard part here is that, they're going to try to paint Ole Miss as the bad guy by saying that, well, I wanted to coach the playoff, but Ole Miss wouldn't let me coach the playoff. Well, of course Ole Miss is not going to let you coach the playoff. That's ridiculous. You can't be coaching Ole Miss while no one is looking out for the program of Ole Miss. You might be trying to win games right in front of you, but no one's looking out for the program as they're trying to build for the future.
He can become at LSU what Nick was at Alabama. In his mind, I can go to LSU and make a serious run now that I'm in a place personally where I'm seeing things clearer than I ever have before. I'm healthier. I'm like committed. Everything's in a row. I can now go there and chase what Nick created at Alabama.
So I think that this is really the big overall point, right? Is that he can become a Nick Saban type figure at LSU. I think that maybe he could have, and what. I don't know, though, because again, I think that he could have and probably already was that at Ole Miss. And would it have meant more whenever, there is a guy named Nick Saban who literally has coached at LSU? There's never been a guy like that at Ole Miss. So, wouldn't that be the more valuable one? I don't know.
I'm healthier. I'm committed. Everything's in a row. I can now go there and chase what Nick created at Alabama, and that absolutely is his mindset.
Lane Kiffin needs to prove that he's a championship coach. Everyone knows that he's.
Now that is also true. He's got to win a championship. Period. He's never had more pressure. Never had more pressure.
Good coach. He's a talented
The
coach.
difference between Ole Miss and LSU is that people say you can't win a championship at Ole Miss for some reason, which I disagree. Clearly, because he's gotten them. Basically right there. But at LSU, it's the exact opposite. It's that you better win a championship.
He can see ball, he can call ball, he can build programs. But the reality is, now with the resources that he has, with as many places as he's been, it's time for him to prove that he can win championships.
Head guy, yep.
As the head guy, not as the guy that's calling your plays, as the head guy. And that happens here. It has to happen now because LSU is all in with Lane Kiffin.
Let's go ahead and go to the great bald himself, Scott Van Pelt, see what he's got to say.
I'm seeing folks talking like he should be able to coach. I completely disagree with that. No. If I'm Ole Miss, no. You're going there? Get the f*** out. Go. What are you talking about? Let him coach.
It's not that crazy. Is it? Maybe it is. Tell me in the comments.
He's leaving. What, let him spend 3 more weeks or a month with these people that he can take with him? Get out. What are we talking about? Would you say let him coach? He wants everything. It's not happening. That's my point. You pick a lane.
Yeah, but you also, like, he's also in an impossible situation where he's given a life-changing opportunity like LSU, which, like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. I mean, hypothetically, like, that job would be there at a different point as well. But again, the point being is with the college football schedule, it's never gonna, like, the schools are in a tough spot too, because the schools have to offer them basically during the season again, because those guys aren't going to be available. You know, the recruiting class is going to pass. The recruiting cycle is going to pass. We just had National Signing Day a couple days ago, this week, because they moved everything around, you know, a couple times. So the schools are in an impossible position, which puts the coaches in an impossible position. Again, the person at fault here is the NCAA. I can't believe that I've waited 40 minutes into the video, or however long it's been, to say this or to come to this conclusion. But as usual, it's the damn NCAA who's at fault here more than anybody else. As usual, let's worry about them. Reminds me of a ton of other things. Everybody's fighting each other over the stupidest shit. But it's not Lane Kiffin's fault that he has to go to LSU right now. It's not LSU's fault that they have to offer him right now. So if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at the NCAA.
Why would you even ask that question? Why would an AD let a coach who made a decision that he wanted to go to LSU and not stay at Ole Miss, coach my players and use my coaches and tell them for the next month why they should be joining him at LSU? Totally understand. I would just say, thank you, Lane.
Now that part is interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. You know, he has like a month to basically recruit the kids and the coaches that are there. He has like a month to convince them that they should come to LSU. But okay, so again, it's the opposite problem of having 24 hours. So again, it's an impossible position, period.
And goodbye. And that being said, if indeed he decides to take other coaches with him, I would just say any player that goes to play for Lane Kiffin, just understand one thing. It's not about the program, it's about Lane Kiffin. Because he don't care about the players, but he just went through a season with a special season. Players he's had for 4 years. With an opportunity to go into the playoffs. He's decided to take them and not only leave these young men who you said that you want to be there and you want to do it with. But if I can't do it, I'm not going to let you do it yourself.
I don't know what is going on there. They're talking about calling the concert over some dog food. I have no clue what's going on. But just to move on to our other subject for today, the other big one that we have, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt not only beat but destroyed Tennessee. Let's see what we got here.
The talk. Baseball speed. Why are you laughing? They're having a tear. No, I wasn't laughing. I feel for her. What? If that was me, no, I wouldn't. She's sad. Listen to her cry. You know, she's not gonna love that looking back.
45-24. 45-24. Vanderbilt beats Tennessee. The harsh truth, college football fans can't stomach. Vanderbilt will never be bad again. Facilities, money, city, education. Clark freaking Lee wouldn't be surprised if we see a Vanderbilt national championship sooner rather than later. Vanderbilt is the new ruler of the South. This is the kind of stuff that we've allowed to have happen. And I mean, have I told you this all year, or have I told you this all year? I think the last time that I said it, the way that I put it was, if you can't see a pattern right in front of your face, I don't know what to tell you. And the college football media lost their mind after the Oklahoma game and said we weren't allowed to say this. We weren't allowed to be upset with Josh Heupel. We weren't allowed to, it was just one game. Tennessee fans, they lose one game and they want to fire their head coach and all this stuff. It's insane. It's insane the way that they treated it. And then look, we go out there and we lose 45-24. Is there any point in going through any of the clips or anything like that other than to say that, there kind of was, there was the whole, their entire family getting arrested damn near. Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia's brother arrested for public intoxication during a game for the second time this season, by the way. And their father was arrested too, by the way. Jackson Mahomes energy, that's funny. But they were also told to stay off the stadium, and they didn't. Oh, here's the one. There's his brother being arrested, and can confirm Vandy football QB Diego Pavia's brother Javier Pavia was arrested by a Tennessee Highway Patrol officer charged with public intoxication at the game tonight. He had a flag blocking people's view, refused to take it down, got mouthy with an officer, etc. Pavia dad just got arrested now. So yeah, what's the big deal? I mean, one day we're talking about how we prayed to God, and that's why we got to where we got to, and then the next day we're having our entire family be arrested for public intoxication. But it's okay, because on the field he ran absolutely wild. On us, 165 rushing yards, 20 rushes, I think earlier in the year I said we were going to break him in half. 20 rushes for 165 yards is not that. And again, Josh freaking Heupel. Love the guy. But the reality is Tennessee did not beat a single bowl eligible team in year 5 of Josh Heupel. Year 5. The idea that year 5 isn't the year that we can judge Josh Heupel on. Before we played Vanderbilt, I had this conversation with my dad, who I think represents a lot of Tennessee's fan base. And basically he said that next year he has to, do something. We have to be a contender, SEC championship contender, definitely get into the playoffs and stuff. And essentially my argument is, why is it that year 6 is when that clock started and not year 5 and not year 4? And you could say that we made it to the playoffs in year 4. It was the weakest playoff appearance that you'll ever find. We all knew what was going to happen that day in Ohio State, and we got destroyed. It's totally a fault of this ridiculous format that we have, that we even made it in last year. And then again, as I've said before, the Nico thing being like, well, we lost our quarterback and we still ended up what? I can't even talk through this without getting freaking indigestion. He's the head coach. He recruited the kid who left. B, Nico sat for a year before he started. He should have hit the ground running as a true freshman if he was that good, especially after you sit him for a year. And then last year happens. He's clearly not what he's supposed to be. If we were going to go anywhere in the playoffs, it was going to be because of something other than him. How that can't be blamed on Josh Heupel, and how it can't be blamed on Heupel coming into this year. Here we go. 18 for 28, 268 passing yards, 165 rushing yards, 2 TDs. Vanderbilt covers money line and the over, 45-24. What at Tennessee? After all the shit the kid taught, and you let that happen. 268 passing yards, 165 rushing yards. I'm not good at math, but that's a lot. Hits the, let's see that. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute that. But yeah, look at that. What do we? Again, the last time we covered Tennessee, we were talking about John Mateer running the QB zone to the left, the QB zone to the right, and the QB zone up the middle. What do we have here? Hold on, let's load it back up. What do we have? Okay, we're just going to run to the left, pop it inside, and then just bust it right back out to the outside. And I knew this was coming, saw this coming from a mile away. After he scored this one, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's about to hit the fucking post. By the way, just the fact that this kid's even up for the Heisman, despite how he played against us and despite how he's played all year, it really just shows the state of the talent in college football more than anything, which is what I said earlier in the year as well. But look at what are we looking at? This is embarrassing. And what I will agree with that other post, which, the other post about this is the worst that Vanderbilt will ever be. That they're going to run the South or whatever. I think this will be the worst they'll ever be. Like I just said, I think that this will be the worst that they will ever be, because this is essentially a couple years into Clark Lee's rebuild. But now you're talking about them signing Jerry Curtis, who, I don't pay a ton of attention to recruiting, but Jerry Curtis is the highest ranked recruit that Vanderbilt has ever signed. 5-star plus. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but 5-star plus. You could subscribe to this man, apparently. Has flipped his commitment from Georgia to Vanderbilt. The number 1 QB in the 26 class has been committed to the Bulldogs since May. He's the highest ranked recruit in program history. They also had somebody else that signed with them after that. By the way, he came out and said, don't know where that came from. Haven't had a chance to talk to either school. And then he did legitimately commit. So yeah, Jerry Curtis goes to Vanderbilt now. And so yeah, there definitely is something to be said about the fact that this will not be this post right here. There definitely is something to be said about the fact that Vanderbilt, this could be the worst that they ever were or ever are moving forward. Seeing that recruiting class right after that and Clark Lee getting an extension definitely doesn't show you anything other than they're just going to continue to ascend. So now you got to contend with that. Now you got to fight them for recruits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How did you have let this happen under your watch if you're Josh Heupel? We also have some incredible recruits coming in. But finally people are, including a kid who didn't even want to sign to us. This is hilarious, by the way. Total side note, committed to a school he didn't want to go to Ohio State. But there was one problem. His family wasn't on board. His mom refused to sign his letter of intent to Ohio State because she wanted him at Tennessee, so he ended up being forced to commit to the Vols. Oh my God. Look at his table. That's crazy. Buckeye fans and Tennessee fans coming together to support Legend. Look at this. Oh, but anyway, Josh Heupel has this great recruiting class coming in. And so, we'll see. Again, I really think that the only difference between my opinion and what most Tennessee fans think is that he's on the clock now. I cannot express how big next year is going to be for Josh Heupel's future. Home: Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU, and Texas. Away: Arkansas, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech. It isn't very hard to see 5 losses there. Hype either responds in a big way with some big wins, or we're seriously talking hot seat. Again, my opinion is that he should be on one now, and that he is on one now. That's it. And that's basically what I've been saying all year. And a lot of times people are very quick to jump at his overall record. This year is a great example of why that is way overinflated and doesn't tell the whole story. You beat ETSU, Syracuse, you lose to Georgia, you beat UAB, you beat Mississippi State, probably shouldn't have. You barely beat Arkansas. By the way, that Syracuse game, we talked about that at the beginning of the year, was way closer than it should have been. Kentucky, they're terrible. They just fired their head coach, despite the fact it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. You lose to Oklahoma. That should have been worse. It's just his record's overinflated. Basically, what I'm trying to say overall is that the overall thing for a contending program is that you beat the teams you're supposed to beat and you're competitive with everybody else. And obviously, you should win some of those as well. Well, that's not us. We lose to teams we shouldn't lose to, and we get blown out by teams that we should be competitive with. And that's a sign of a program that just isn't competing at the level that you want. So, yeah, I think Vanderbilt beating Tennessee 45-24 is the greatest I told you so that I could possibly have for what I've been talking about all year with Josh Heupel. We have hit a hard ceiling. Next year is not when he's on the hot seat. He should have been on it coming into this year. And had Nico Iamaleava not done what he did, there's 2 people that Josh Heupel should send an absolute bag and a half to, write a fat check to. It's Hendon Hooker and it's Nico Iamaleava, because had Nico not done what he did in the spring, for some reason fans give him a total pass for this entire season, even though Joey Aguilar has been amazing. So the quarterback is not the issue, yet he still gets a pass as if he has no starting quarterback and had no time. The quarterback played way better this year than Nico has played this year, and way better than Nico played last year. The quarterback is not the problem. So why he gets a pass for what happened with Nico, I do not understand. But he's the right Nico check and he's the right Hendon Hooker check, because Hendon Hooker has basically bought him multiple years of forgiveness from Tennessee fans. And again, the last thing I'll say on it is that I was with the Tennessee fan base through the worst years of Tennessee football. But I think we got a little bit of PTSD going on here, right? We can do 2 things at once, okay? Josh Heupel can be the guy who brought us to here. He doesn't have to be the guy who takes us to the next level. Why those 2 things cannot coexist, why that's so hard to understand. Tennessee was around a long time before Josh Heupel. We have a stadium named after one coach, and we have a whole... we have another coach who's a legend. We have national championships. We have SEC championships. We have, Peyton Manning. I'm pulling from the low-hanging fruit, but my point is that Josh Heupel does not equal Tennessee football. Tennessee football does not equal Josh Heupel. He has gotten us from a very, very bad place to a much better place. That's okay if that's what he is here for, and that's what he ultimately does. And we part ways at some point and say, again, like I said before, maybe it's Oklahoma eventually or something like that, where we say, God bless you, Godspeed to you. You've done great things for us, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Why we can't do that? I actually used Kentucky as an example of a school that's going to keep their coach forever and gave him a lifetime deal because they don't have high expectations. They just fired Stoops. They just fired him. So I think that it would be a bit of a weird time. It would be received poorly if he was fired right now. But I don't know that it would be a bad decision, and I don't know that ultimately you're not just sitting in a sinking boat by waiting to do something that you know needs to be done. And this season to me proved that this is what needs to be done. The offense is not creative. That game with Vanderbilt was not even competitive, and it was hard to watch at times. And that's sad. What I just said is absolutely sad. Absolutely pathetic. Piss poor. Just old school football coach sayings just coming out of me at this point. So I think I'm going to leave it there. We're going to leave it with one more video regarding the Lane Kiffin situation, and that'll be it. I apologize for the lack of consistency in the football content in particular. I promise I'm going to be fixing that very soon. But if you are still here with me, please hit subscribe. Please turn your post notifications on and be ready for a lot more content from Hyper Studios and the Coliseum as we ramp up into 2026. That's crazy to think about. But by next year's football season, things are going to look a lot different around here. And I'm excited about it. But if you're still here, watch this last video for me and leave a like and a comment on what you think about Lane Kiffin. Should he have stayed at Ole Miss? Should he have gone to LSU? Should he have tried the NFL again while his stock was the highest? And what should Tennessee do with Josh Heupel? Give him another year with him being on the hot seat. Give him another couple of years. My dad phrased it as his first 5 years were successful. His next 5 years need to be. And I said, Dad, I think it's going to be a miracle. a miracle if this man is still here in 5 years. So let me know what you think about that as well. Other than that, I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Jimmy Sexton, the agent, is the most powerful man in college football. Maybe the most powerful man in all of college sports. Last year, at one point, he had 14 of the 16 head coaches in the SEC. Also had James Franklin and others. And so he's been able to puppeteer this whole thing. I'm told there may have been an element to Jimmy Sexton represents Kalen DeBoer. Had they lost in the Iron Bowl Saturday night, there could have been a knee-jerk reaction, and all of a sudden that Bama job opens.
No way.
There was an element. Let's wait and see. Let's see who's playing in the SEC championship game. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's Ole Miss. Because the college football playoff, we have weeks to adjust to. If you're the Ole Miss athletic director and all of a sudden there's a game in 6 days, maybe that gives Kiffin a little bit more leverage to remain the coach for a little while. But when Alabama won, Lane, you're not invited to that 2 p.m. meeting tomorrow. That will be for the chancellor, myself, administrators, the players, and Pete Golding, who we're going to announce as not only our interim head coach, but our permanent head coach.